So I said I was going to do a hot take on this. As much as we've talked about Russ, I think it's not necessary, and like y'all need me to talk. But that's what I want to do my hot take on, man. So anybody who knows me knows that for the past couple of years, I've been one of the biggest Russell Westbrook supporters. During a time where everybody else talked bad about him and dogged him and had a lot of negative to say, I fully supported him. Like, you know, when KD was there and the talk was they can't coexist and people was like, oh, their time's up, these two can't win. And a lot of people blame Russ for not realizing who the better closer was, or and in clutch moments Russ just kind of doing his own thing. And I was one of those people back then that was like, well, if KD don't want to step up, you know, blah blah blah, right? So when you watch Russell Westbrook now, like many of y'all saw, I made a post and I said it's official, like I'm off, like I'm no longer on the Russell Westbrook bandwagon. There's a few reasons for that, man. So, you know, I get it, man. And I think a lot, like, we as fans are driven by our emotions, so to speak, when it comes to sports. Like, a lot of people won't admit this. I can openly admit this. I became a LeBron James hater because I was a Kobe Bryant fan. Like, as a Kobe Bryant fan, LeBron James came into the league, and from day one, he was anointed as this great player. Meanwhile, Kobe had 3 rings, and all you heard about him was, well, he only won because of Shaq. Like, he was some kind of scrub. So, as a Kobe fan, I instantly became a LeBron James hater, right? It's how sports work. You know, if you're a fan of one guy, it makes you hate another guy. And now, you get a lot of people that hate LeBron James. They love Golden State because they became the best thing, you know, out there to keep him from winning. I enjoy watching Golden State play, but I think I like them because they beat LeBron the first year. So, with that, with the whole Russell Westbrook thing, right? Like, I think a lot of people who may not have liked him before, like, he's one of those guys, based on everything that happened, you just kind of pulled for him. Like, everybody wanted to see him do well. So, you look, and him and KD have what appears to be this great thing, man. They have 2 players who are both arguably top 5, no worse than both being top 10 talents in the NBA, right? Both of these guys are great players. And they play together and it don't work, and everybody go, man, they're a piece away. You know, they had Harden, but they were young at the time. They let him go. They probably should have kept him and let Ibaka go. Probably would have been a lot better with this new small ball era, right? But they made their decision. Harden was the one that left, right? And then you had injuries. All this stuff happened, but it just never really worked out in OKC. So, KD leaves. And because of where he went, accompanied with how he left, and, you know, Westbrook's in the media like, you know, he didn't tell me, you know, he didn't get a phone call, he didn't get a text, and KD being the non-media savvy person that he is, every time he was asked a question, he made it worse because he looked stupid trying to answer the question. You know, oh, me and Russ, you know, we'll talk about that at some point and blah, blah, blah. So KD looked bad altogether. People hated that he left. They hated that he went to the team that beat him, and then how he did it, like he left Russ high and dry. So now you got Russell Westbrook, this superstar, and then he did the loyal thing. He opts in and, you know, basically says, I'm staying here in OKC, right? He makes the commercials. You know, some people run, some make runways. You know, so he built up a following based on people wanting to see him succeed because of what KD did, right? The same people who couldn't stand how he played before jumped on the Russ bandwagon because, based on his situation, you wanted to see this guy succeed, right? Now, the funny thing is, people watch him play now, and they say, he has to do that because he doesn't have any help. Like, he has to play like this in order for him to be competitive. If you look back, he played this exact same way when he had help, when he had Kevin Durant, when he had Ibaka, when he had James Harden. He played this same erratic style of basketball. He made these same dumb decisions in crunch time that he did when he had help on his team. Those same dumb, like, don't, if you watch that last however many minutes of Game 4 against Houston. He made, I think, 2 of them. But those 3-pointers he shot were the dumbest shots. I mean, they were the worst possessions. It's just not, he doesn't play smart basketball. And it took me a while to really kind of notice this. And, you know, people are like, oh, you hopping off the Russ bandwagon. I'm not a Harden fan either. This ain't even about the MVP. I don't care who wins it. I already think the media's made up their mind. They all showing their hands. A lot of them are saying, yes, I voted for Russ. He might win it. Do I think he deserved it? No. But that's neither here or there. His style of basketball, man. And I made a hot take earlier in the season. David Wilson can attest to this. Where I said Russell Westbrook's style of basketball isn't conducive to winning. And he's like, what more you want him to do? And first thing people say is, well, he's averaging a triple-double. Man, listen. You know, sometimes a guy might average 21 and 6. And you go, man, the numbers don't tell the whole story. Well, Russell Westbrook averages a triple-double, but the numbers don't tell the whole story. Like, you have to really watch him play. I was watching last night. He's guarding Patrick Beverley. And if you've been watching the series, Beverly's been playing well. Like, Houston might put a lineup on the floor. Houston might put on the floor Beverley, Gordon, Harden, Ariza, Ryan Anderson. Who can you leave? They all pretty much relatively decent three-point shooters, right? So they force teams to space the floor on defense. Like, you know, they spread you out on D, right? I watched Westbrook possession after possession. Every time the ball swung to the opposite side of the court, Westbrook's man is at the three-point line. Westbrook is sagging down into the paint. Why? Because his big man can't rebound? Or because they won't rebound because it looks good for Westbrook to get a triple-double? Like, and I keep trying to explain to people, man, his rebounds don't affect the game. Like somebody said, those rebounds are extra possessions. They're the same possessions they get if the big man is doing the hard work. I told somebody the other day, when you in high school, you do these drills, you box out, right? You box out and fight for the rebounds. Difference is in the OKC, they box out and then they let Russ get the rebound. They could get the same rebounds and outlet it for the fast break, which is what we were taught when we was kids. Big man, rebound, outlet, right? Keep your head up. But they just let Russ get the rebound and go. It's not like his rebounds affect the game. Here's a fun stat for you. People say when Russ get a triple-double, they were, I think it was 33 and 9. Something like that. Something along those lines, right? Look deeper into the numbers. So when he doesn't get a triple-double, whatever their record is what it is. But look at their wins and losses and look at Russ's numbers. In their wins and losses, his points per game are about the same. He averages about 31 a game. His rebounds is about the same. He averages about 10 rebounds because his rebounds don't affect the game. What matters is when he facilitates and gets his team involved. In OKC's losses this year, Russ averages 8.5, 8.6 assists, somewhere around there. In wins, he's closer to 12. It's like 11.7 or something crazy like that, right? So what does that tell you? Oklahoma City is a much better team when Russell Westbrook is facilitating getting his teammates involved. He going to get his 30 regardless, right? Because he going to shoot the ball whenever he feel like it. But when he gets his teammates involved, they're a much better team for it. Look no further than game 2? Game 2, I want to say. Yeah, game 2. He's facilitating, teams involved, and he goes on this shooting spree in the fourth quarter. Truth be told, this last game they just played, he did the same thing in the fourth. He just hit a few more shots. He don't pass the ball. Russell Westbrook had a triple-double at halftime versus Houston in the last game. 10 assists, 10 or 11 at halftime. He finished the game with 14. So, it was a point earlier in this season where he had like 4 straight triple-doubles, 4 or 5 straight triple-doubles, and they won. And then it was like 4 straight games where he scored like 40 and 50 and had like 6, 7 assists, and they lost. I don't know why he doesn't understand that him scoring a bunch of points isn't the answer to their problems. Like, when he facilitates and get everybody involved, everybody like to keep saying they got scrubs out there. Great players make mediocre players look like good players. LeBron James make Delonte West and Boobie Gibson and Mo Williams look like serviceable role players. Kobe Bryant, Lamar Odom, who was underachieving his whole career, plays with Kobe Bryant. He becomes 6th man of the year and a contributing piece to a championship team. Look at Rajon Rondo after his time with the B. He played with Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, and KG. He looked like a stud. Since playing with them, not so much. So star players elevate players around them, right? Is Russell Westbrook elevating anybody on OKC? Now, y'all gonna look and say, well, that's because they ain't got no help. Like, you're supposed to get the most out of those guys. Those guys can play. They're in the NBA. We're not finna go into that. They can't play. They can play. Victor Oladipo was drafted to be a franchise cornerstone. That's what he was drafted to be. He was supposed to be a stud. That's what people thought. In Orlando, he had some ups and downs. Not so great. He gets over here, and now he got to concede to Russell Westbrook. Like, when you watch OKC, man, the whole team just watches this guy play. It's awful, man. So, back to a point that I made earlier this season. Russell Westbrook will never win a championship. Y'all heard it here. Westbrook won't ever win. And the reason he won't win, he's at his very best doing what he's doing now. He loves this. He say he's not stat chasing. He loves this. He loves being able to put up all these crazy numbers. That's why when KD left, you seen him in the video like, now I do what I want. Like, he was amped up about that. Like, I do what I want. He don't want to play team basketball. He don't want to win. He want to put up all these great numbers, and that's fine, man. It's going to look good in the record books years from now. But next time, when y'all watch OKC get closed out in Game 5, I want y'all to watch Russell Westbrook, right? Just watch him on defense. Watch how many times he leaves his man to go chase a rebound. Watch how many times he comes down on offense and is just erratic and throws the ball away. Watch how many times he shoots a contested shot when it's a man wide open. Just watch him. And he normally do that contested shot stuff in the fourth quarter. But his style of basketball, you'll never win like that. And the problem is, you say, okay, get him some help. Who he going to coexist with? Kevin Durant is a top 3 talent in the NBA. I don't care how you put it. He's one of the best players in the NBA. You couldn't coexist with him. You can't coexist with nobody. I don't think nobody going to want to go to OKC. So, I mean, I know everybody on the Westbrook hype train right now, and I get it. Everybody wanted to pull for him. You know, KD left him high and dry. But watching that guy play basketball is sickening, man. It's awful. Like, it really is. The numbers look good, but what he does on the basketball court is just flat out awful. It's awful. His offensive game is Iverson-esque. Like, people like to compare him to other people. He kind of plays like Iverson with a mean streak. Like, he's more explosive than Iverson was. Not necessarily more athletic, more explosive. Shout out to Courtney. He gonna shoot when he want to. You know what I mean? Because the ball is in his hands the entire game. You know, he get his assists, and shout out, he get his 10 assists a game good on, right? The rebounds, like I said, they don't affect the game at all, man. He just stealing rebounds from his big men, and everybody fell in love with that. So, and that was my whole reasoning for the MVP thing, was when you look at it, you know, Harden got you 29-11, Russ got you 31-10. Offensively, they were a wash. So everybody was excited about the triple doubles. I mean, that's cool. And even if you say that Houston is better, since when has that ever mattered in MVP voting? Usually, the MVP, his team is better, he plays better, they win more games, and he gets the MVP. Golden State had a better team than everybody in the league 2 years ago. Steph Curry won MVP. Last year, they won 73 games. He won MVP. Michael Jordan played on a team that won 72 games. That same team, before they won 72, before he came back, won 55 games and went to the second round in the Eastern Conference playoffs. They were a solid team. He was the MVP. So, but that's neither here. I don't even get into MVP discussion. My point is, man, I'm off the Russell Westbrook bandwagon. His style of basketball play is awful. And you heard it here first. He will never win. Like, he won't win playing like this because he wants to play by himself. And when you put a star on his team, if anybody wants to go play with him, he doesn't know how to coexist with a star. He's a wannabe shooting guard trapped in a point guard's body and forced to play point guard. He doesn't shoot well enough to be a 2 guard. So I don't know, man. Like, the more I watch him, the more I dislike his game and realize, like, this guy is never going to win. Anyway, damn, this was long. If y'all still here, man, y'all chime in, comment, tell me how wrong I am about y'all, boy. I'm out.